Hi, welcome to our Facebook Live today, Bipolar Solutions. Hey, today's topic is a question that gets asked sometimes on different websites. It says, can someone fake being or having bipolar disorder? And I guess it's probably asked because people behave in ways that are out of the ordinary, you know, and that are annoying perhaps. And then people think that they're just faking it, perhaps to get away with something. I don't really know why, but let me just share with you what it would take to fake truly being bipolar or having bipolar disorder. And I'm going to use my favorite book, The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, otherwise known as the DSM-5, the 5th edition. And in this book, this is how doctors diagnose different mental disorders, and you can see there are hundreds of them in this book. I'm going to turn to the definition or how they would diagnose bipolar disorder and other related disorders. So with bipolar disorder, and it's a complicated, complex set of requirements to have bipolar disorder. It's just not where a person is off their mind, you know, and doing bizarre, crazy things that are annoying. So if you have a loved one or a friend and you're trying to support him or her, what I'm going to share with you would be all the symptoms that you could be looking for your friend or loved one. And one of the best ways to prevent an episode from happening is to read the early warning signs of an episode. So early detection means that something can be done medically, therapeutically, in order to stop the impending episode. Once it gets going, it's almost impossible to stop it, especially with the mania. So here's what the DSM-5 has to say, okay? So it's necessary to meet all of these criteria. The first criteria is that there must be, and this is what has to be for everybody, a distinct period of abnormality or a distinct period of abnormal or persistently elevated, expansive, or could be an irritable mood, and goal-directed activity, like they want to, they have 14 goals to accomplish this week, and that has to last at least a week for a mania. Has to be at least a week, and it must be present most of the day, nearly every day. Okay, so that has to be, that's a must-have. And the other thing is that there must be 3 of the 7 things that I'm going to read. So first of all, they have to have this mood for at least a week that is elevated, grandiose, just thinking that's just not normal. And here's some of the other things. So of the 7, they have to have 3. 1 is inflated self-esteem or grandiosity. 2 is a decreased need for sleep. They feel relaxed and rested after they've only slept 2 or 3 hours. I've had all of these symptoms, and I can tell you that when I'm annoyed, well, when I'm manic, I'm annoyed by the need for sleep. I think it's the biggest waste of time. So when you start hearing your friends start to complain about having to sleep, that is one of the signs that could be an early warning sign, okay? Now, if you really want to get a deeper dive into this, I do have a course on all this, and you can find that just by going to bipolarcourse.com, and you'll find all the details about it there. Now, the third thing is that they're more talkative than usual, or they have pressured speaking. What is this like? Well, if you've experienced it with somebody, you know what I'm talking about. They can't stop talking. People will leave the room and they'll still be talking to the last person standing. And they'll talk about everything and anything. A lot of what they don't even understand themselves. And it's pressured speech. When I have this, I feel the need to keep talking. I don't know why, but I feel the need to just keep talking. And I don't let anybody else talk. So this is another great sign, and it's an easy sign to see. If your friend or your loved one won't let you get a word in edgewise and can go on for a half an hour on 14 different topics, that is one of the symptoms. But keep in mind, they have to have at least 3 of them. A flight of ideas. They usually will have all these ideas of things to do, all these goal-directed activities, all these business ideas, all these, oh, let's landscape the whole house, you know, let's redo the whole house, let's do all the landscaping, let's do all this stuff. And so if they have this enormous amount of flight of ideas, that is another good tell of an episode on its way. Distractibility, they're extremely distractible in mania. They're just, it's just one little thing and they're off to it. And when they speak, they're easily distracted. They'll think of something and they'll say something like, the color of this is blue, and then they'll go, I just saw a blue car and it was a really cool car. Did I tell you about the car? And then they're talking about the car and they say, yeah, they drove by Starbucks. You know, the other day I was in Starbucks. It's going to go like that. And you're like, what are we talking about? Because they're going to be talking about 14 things. That's just what I do. And I never circle back to any one thing I started. It's just here, there, everywhere. And the poor person who's trying to even keep their attention with this is completely confused. Okay, then they have an increase in goal-directed activity like we already talked about. And they have excessive involvement in activities that have a high potential for painful consequences. Okay, an excessive involvement in activities like that, like unrestrained buying sprees, sexual indiscretions, or foolish business investments. I had so many different companies that I founded, if you want to call it that. I just registered them, and I bet I've organized 20 or more companies, and I can tell you that none of them ever made $1, not even revenue. Forget about profit. But that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Now, in order for it to be mania, it must be sufficient. All this mood disturbance they're having must be sufficiently severe to cause marked impairment in social and occupational functioning, or to necessitate hospitalization. And what I mean by that is that they're probably not going to do well with their job, if they even keep it. They're not going to do well with their relationships. So social, professional impairment in every aspect of their life. Okay? And all that is just for the manic part. That's not, we haven't even talked about the depression yet, which they would have as many as 6 to 10 more depressive episodes than they do mania. So a lot of times we're looking for bipolar people when we see the mania. And if they have the mania, they don't need the depression to be diagnosed bipolar. But they're going to have the depression at some point in their life. And if they already have had it, then that's a really hard thing to pretend you have. I'll give you a reason why. They need to have 5 symptoms that have been presented during the same 2-week period of time. 5 symptoms that are present during the same 2-week period of time. And they must have a depressed mood most of the day or nearly every day. They must have a marked diminished interest or pleasure in all or almost all activities that they used to enjoy. I have had depression episodes so many times, and I just can't even get out of bed to play golf, which I love. But if somebody was inviting me to play at the best golf course in the whole United States and they were going to take me, they couldn't get me out of bed. I wouldn't want to do it. And that's the kind of impaired depression I'm talking about, or the impairment that comes from depression. Okay, cool. Still with me? All right, good. See, this might not be the easiest thing to fake. They usually have either a significant weight loss or weight gain. They'll have insomnia or hypersomnia nearly every day. And that's different than not wanting to sleep. In mania, I don't want to sleep. But in depression, I can't sleep. I want to, I just can't. That's insomnia. That's the big difference. They're slowed down in all they do. And they have fatigue or loss of energy every day. They have a diminished ability to think or concentrate. And they usually have recurrent thoughts of death. Or in other words, it's called suicide ideation, where they are constantly thinking about, I wish I would just die, because the pain of the depression is just overbearing. Okay, so again, remember I mentioned that I have a course that covers all of this in detail in about 60 other different topics. If you're interested in finding out more about that, go to bipolarcourse.com and you'll find out. The key thing that I hope I've left you with is to see that it is a very complex diagnosis, and it takes a lot of different symptoms and a lot of different behavior, and it would be very hard for me to fake it, knowing what I have to be, knowing how I am being bipolar. I don't think I could possibly put that kind of energy I would need to figure out how to look so sad and so depressed and so uninterested in anything that I used to be interested in. Nor do I know how to be so grandiose and so self-centered and so egotistical. Nor do I know how to, although it sounds like I know how to talk really fast and I have a lot of talkative, but that's because of this. But if I was talking like this to you and we were just having a conversation, this would seem like rapid speech and just the inability to kind of shut up. So I guess I'll leave you with the idea that it's probably not very possible. And if a person can fake it, it would be for a very short period of time. Nobody wants to live like this. Nobody chooses it. None of the family chooses it. None of the loved ones, the supporters. Nobody chooses. It's a horrible illness. Horrible. Why anybody would want to fake it, I have no idea. It's the most horrible illness that I can think of because it's so destructive. Remember, in mania, they have to have so much impairment that they are destroying their lives. Why would anybody fake destroying a marriage or a relationship with their kids or their job or college or whatever they're doing? Why would they just say, you know what, I want people to have sympathy for me. I'm going to tell everybody I have bipolar disorder and I'm going to go completely destroy my life, because that is kind of a requirement. Unfortunately, it's kind of everybody that has it has had their lives destroyed by it. And I'm sorry that you're dealing with this. If you're watching it, you either have it, watching this, you either have it or you're a friend or a family member. And I'm so sorry. I'm so impressed that you're watching this. Good for you and good for those that you're trying to serve and take care of. I hope this helps. I hope it helps just understand, most importantly, what the early warning signs could be for your loved one, and how to help detect them before things get too bad. And don't forget one more thing, the bipolarcourse.com has all of this and more. Okay, I hope this helped. Take good care. See you next time. Bye now.